Hi, my name is Marcus Mulder, and I'm going to be talking about the phosphorus cycle today and kind of how it works in the environment and in our planet. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is the definition, and I found this definition when I was researching. It says a process made up of a series of smaller processes that may or may not ever interact, processes that take place over a time frame as short as weeks and as long as millennia. So this is a little bit confusing when you first hear it, but it's kind of just saying that there's no start or finish to this cycle. It's kind of a continuous cycle, and then the smaller processes right here, it's kind of talking about the different smaller cycles in the bigger cycle. So this kind of will help you understand that a little bit. So as I said, there's no starting point. I'll say quote unquote the starting. What I'm going to talk about first is this rain. So the rain on the rock, which rock is where the phosphorus comes from. Phosphorus is stored in rock. Unlike nitrogen or carbon, phosphorus is not found in the atmosphere. It's found in these rocks right here. So that's where I'm going to start. So the rain weathers down and breaks these rocks down into soil, which the soil brings goes down into these plants. These plants they assimilate it through their plant roots for ATP, for nutrient movement. Phosphorus is very vital for energy movement throughout the ecosystem. So that's also what it's doing. And then these animals right here feed on those plants, you know the cycle, and then they die. And then they go and decompose into the soil to be thrown back into that cycle again. It's kind of continuous, like I said before. And we didn't even talk about this ocean right here. So the ocean has all of the marine life in it, and the marine life are very important because the marine life gets those phosphates as well, and then they move down through the food chain. And then once they die again, they decompose at the bottom of the ocean to weather again, to get that phosphates again, to restart that cycle. Right here it says phosphates, the rock formations, it goes back into that rocks to start again. So the law of minimum is kind of important that I think to understand more of what phosphorus does, or like the importance of phosphorus. So this experiment, the law of minimum, is kind of saying you are only as strong as your weakest link. So this bucket right here has this short peg right here, and that shortest part is going to determine how much water is going to be in that bucket. Same thing with the experiment they did. Justus von Liebig did an experiment with like the growth and the yield of a plant based on the least abundant nutrients. So the growth and yield of a plant are limited by the least abundant nutrients. So if you have like the small amount of phosphorus, that is going to determine how big that plant is going to grow. So next is kind of going to be the transfers through each sphere. As I said, the atmosphere does not have any phosphorus in it. Phosphorus is the least readily available substance in the Earth atmosphere. But the lithosphere, the hydrosphere, and the biosphere are all incorporated in the phosphorus cycle. So the lithosphere is kind of that starting point I was talking about. The lithosphere is when the phosphorus is solid in rock, and also when weathered down into the soil. Hydrosphere is the ocean, the surface of the ocean where like the plankton are taking in that phosphorus and then passing it down through the food chain. The depths of the ocean where they decompose, turn back into the rock. The biosphere is everybody. So this DNA, RNA, and then the ATP right here is a part of the biosphere because phosphate is in all living organisms, is in every single cell, every DNA that makes up the living organisms. So the ocean's role, I kind of talked about it, but the ocean's surface, right here you can see it's crashing onto these rocks. It's weathering these rocks, bringing the phosphates into the ocean for the marine life. And then once that marine life dies, goes to the bottom, yada, 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 process starts again, The human's role in it is also pretty important, but it's kind of lackluster because it's the same as every other living organism. So humans are a part of the biosphere, just like every other living organism. But phosphates, like I said, are in that DNA. Phosphates are make up with that law of minimum. The phosphates, we wouldn't grow as much as we did without phosphates. We wouldn't grow and be living without that nutrient, that vital nutrient. So I'm about at 5 minutes, and Screencastify is going to kick me off, but these are my works cited. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much.